There is a $150 million bootstrapped SaaS company that was founded in 2006. 18 years of brand equity, word of mouth, and a genuinely very strong product. And a free competitor that launched 11 years later in 2017 now receives significantly more traffic than this company. It's not a really small gap. It's not a recent penalty, but it's the structure around both of these websites, a pattern that they've both been sitting on for years. I've spent today auditing both websites and their full organic footprints using my Claude and DataForSEO workflow. The reason for the discrepancy is not what most people would assume, and in this video, I'm going to break down everything I found and share it with you. The company is Harvest, and the free competitor is Clockify. Just to be clear, I don't have any affiliation with either of these companies in any way whatsoever. In Ahrefs, Clockify gets around 640,000 organic visitors each month. In DataForSEO, and the data we largely used for this video, the gap is closer to 1.55x times bigger. But wherever we look, there's a significant gap. And the thing that makes this worth your time, if you're running organic for a SaaS company right now, then this isn't a penalty story. Harvest didn't get hit with an algorithm update. They don't have lower traffic because their content is bad or their content is wrong. In fact, they largely built the same content as Clockify. They've just built it shallower. And neither of them have built the editorial authority consistently enough that determines who is going to get cited in AI search. And it is in this AI search layer where most of the buying decisions are going to be happening. That is the gap, and that's the gap that most SEO reports don't measure at all. I'm going to walk through the actual data in a minute. The keyword mix, the landing pages, the AI search angles. And there's a specific thing that a third competitor in this category has done that neither Harvest or Clockify necessarily has. It's not the thing that most SEO agencies would recommend. I'll just show you what it is, my analysis, and the editorial proof underneath it. Another good comparison data point to look at is the amount of keywords both of these companies rank for. Harvest ranked for 14,927 keywords. Clockify ranked for 35,820. That's approximately a 2.4x gap, pretty significant. But when you take these numbers by themselves and when you look into them in more detail, they tell another story. So here's a stat that most SEO reports would miss, but is really important. When we look at the top 10 rankings of keywords, the 2.4x gap doesn't exist anymore. Instead, the gap is roughly equal. Harvest have 5,152 top 10 keyword rankings. Clockify have 5,987. The actual gap in keyword rankings and actually traffic comes from the positions 11 to 100. Clockify holds almost 30,000 keywords here, whereas Harvest have less than 10,000. 20,000 keywords less is a significant gap, and therefore a lot of this traffic estimation is probably coming from these keywords existing on pages 2 to 10. What this really means is that Clockify have this moat of long tail keyword depth, but it's not top of the SERP dominance, and it doesn't translate to AI results, as I'll get onto later as well. Here's where the picture gets clearer. CPC is the cleanest signal of commercial value. It tells us directly what an advertiser is willing to pay to rank for a specific keyword and to get a click. High CPC is the strongest possible signal of buying intent. Very low CPC means that no one is actually going to convert from this traffic. This is why a lot of SEOs talk about traffic by itself being a vanity metric. Essentially, if you are capturing loads of keywords that have this very low buying intent and very low cost per click value, it's not actually going to contribute to having more customers and new revenue. And this is why traffic by itself doesn't tell the whole story. And this is why Clockify is a great example of that. They have a really high level of traffic, but a ton of their traffic comes from low CPC value keywords. So I'm going to break them down now. While Harvest rank for some really important high commercial value keywords, such as time tracking software at $58 a click, best time tracking for freelancers at $31 a click, best time tracking software at $24 a click, and even their own brand name, Alternative, Harvest Alternative, at $24 a click. These are all money queries, and these are all queries where it makes a lot of sense to rank for. And if you watch others of my videos or looked at our case studies on the GI Group website, you'll see a lot about this mindset I have towards SEO and this approach of focusing on the bottom of the funnel, focusing on the money keywords, and where the money is flowing, that's where your resources should be going into. Whereas in contrast, Clockify have a lot of rankings for less valuable keywords. Clockify ranks for a keyword 1,700 hours military time, which has over 45,000 searches a month, but very little commercial value. Most people searching this are looking for something that's completely unrelated to what Clockify's service is, and also they're just simply looking to get a quick answer, a definition. But it's not just this keyword. Similarly, Clockify ranked for lots of keywords around how many workdays in a year, which collectively gets over 60,000 monthly searches. But the thing is, nobody bids on this traffic. Therefore, these keywords have very low cost per click. The reason why nobody bids on this traffic is because nobody searching this is likely to convert into a paying customer. The keyword count is real, and this contributes nicely to traffic, but traffic by itself, as we've said, is a vanity metric. This traffic does not meaningfully convert to new customers for your business. If you're seeing something similar in your own data, strong traffic, but maybe weak demo volume conversion, in other words, you're getting this traffic, but it's not actually converting at a significant level, then this is the exact diagnostic point we run at MG. We look at your keyword mix, your backlink profile, and how often you're showing up in AI search versus your competitors. It's about a 15 to 30 minute call, depending on how many questions you have. There's a comment under this video and a link in the description where you can book the call if you wish. Just make sure you include a lot of information about what your business is, what stage you're at, and then we can come to the call prepared for you. Links in the description. But for the time tracking solution marketplace, I would argue that neither Harvest or Clockify are currently winning this race. A third competitor, Toggl, who I'm going to speak more about, are. And the evidence for why is what's really important. That can dig us into answers, and that can allow us to get new information about what we should do with AI search strategies. And for this evidence, I would look towards the editorial corpus that AI models have trained on. So this is angle one, the category buying query. I asked ChatGPT, what is the best time tracking software for a small business? Toggl were first, Harvest second, Clockify third. Then came the likes of QuickBooks, Time Doctor, HubStaff. I'm not going to go so much more into them. Again, in terms of Google alone, Toggl is significantly smaller than Clockify. In terms of ranked keywords, they're 6 times smaller than Clockify. Angle 2, the freelancer query. This was much more of like Harvest's typical home turf, right? I tested Harvest's historical core market with the query, best time tracking software for freelancers. It was the same order. Toggl came first, Harvest second, Clockify third, and then a range of other competitors below. Also, understanding like who ranks in Google versus who ranks in AI isn't always the same citation set, right? And from our research, we did find a massive correlation between who ranks in Google and who ranks in AI. However, that correlation is not causation. AI ranks by source authority and the actual content structure and authority rather than SEO position. That's why when we searched in ChatGPT, how many workdays in a year, none of our companies that we've been talking about in this video came up. It was a completely different citation set, despite who ranks in Google. In fairness, though, I would argue it doesn't really matter, because just because Clockify rank first for how many workdays in a year in Google doesn't mean they particularly would care about ranking for that in AI. This is an area where Harvest are doing really well, vertical queries in ChatGPT. So here's where the easy Toggl wins everything in AI narrative breaks for the time tracking industry. I ran the keyword best time tracking software for design agencies. In this case, Harvest were ranked first. Toggl was still second, but Harvest were first. Why? I dug into some of the listicles that Harvest are mentioned in, and I think I know why. Predominantly, Harvest's editorial positioning in third-party listicles presents them more as a time tracking solution that's focused on the agency and billing use cases. In terms of that positioning in third-party listicles, I believe this is one of the main reasons why they rank so strongly for vertical queries related to agencies, whether that be design agencies or different types of agencies. Toggl seemed to own that general freelancer slot, whereas Harvest owned the agency slot. But what this is essentially getting more into is the idea that the way you are talked about on page, on your own website, and the way you are presented in third-party editorials and in third-party media plays an absolutely massive role in AI citations. This also shows up in use case queries, which I tested. When I searched best time tracking software for invoicing, this also was favorable for Harvest. This query is fundamental to the DNA of what Harvest is as a product. They talk about the invoicing feature a lot on their own website, and in some of their backlinks, it's also mentioned when they're described, especially in listicles. Therefore, I was not surprised at all that given their massive level of authority and in terms of SEO, a massive presence, is repeated into AI. AI has learned that Harvest are a company that is associated as a time tracking tool with invoicing features, and therefore it makes complete sense that they get this visibility. And this is the bedrock of how AI citations actually work. Harvest doesn't have to own every position in the category to win an AI search. They own what their own go-to-market business is built around. And because of this, they've built a business worth over $150 million. But here's the proof. So let's go back to the examples in who's winning an AI search. I pulled the actual sources up in the Google AI overviews for the keyword best time tracking software. 12 publications: Forbes, Zapier, Upwork, Paymo, Apploy, Desklog, Apps365, DeskTrack, Lettuce, MemTime, MyHours, plus 2 threads from Reddit, both from the subreddit Productivity Apps. Toggl is positioned as a top contender for every single one of them. Zapier opens with Toggl Track for a free time tracking app. Forbes cites the pricing of Toggl directly. Paymo's listicle has Toggl at number 2. Apploy uses specific semantic language like Toggl Track is strong for simple tracking. The Reddit threads recommend Toggl consistently. This is what editorial authority looks like, consistently being recommended in the citation services that are relevant to where you should be living. Of course, being an enterprise brand and having existing brand recognition is the fastest way to win here. But what can you do? You want to get involved in these sources as much as possible. Getting in listicles is ideal, but getting in any sort of editorial articles that are relevant, building more language across the web that talks about your brand in a specific way, being featured in articles and quoted in articles where there is a level of traffic, being featured in Reddit, but not only Reddit, Quora too, on social media, in other forums too. They can all have a big impact. There is a brand mention chain underneath this, and I want people to think about this. It's not the backlink that wins the AI citations, and it hurts me to say that, but it's true. But it's the brand mention in the editorial context. Let me show you the chain that Toggl have built for this. In PC Mag, and I quote, Toggl is the editor's choice for free time tracking apps. In Timula's blog, they have an article that is literally titled, What are the 5 best Harvest alternatives? Toggl is positioned in this piece as being a simple and versatile alternative. That single article is likely a huge reason why ChatGPT references Toggl as a number 1 alternative when people are searching in ChatGPT for a Harvest alternative, because of this article and because of this editorial off-page mention. In Capterra, for Toggl, there's over 2,500 reviews, aggregating language such as intuitive, reliable, simple, and beautiful. That phrasing is the exact phrasing ChatGPT uses when it talks about Toggl. Forbes Advisor themselves, they cite Toggl starter plan pricing directly. Forbes is a hugely authoritative publication, and a reference on Forbes about your product pricing is a strong reason for ranking in AI. The thing here is every mention is doing different work, but together they compound massively. PC Mag gives editorial authority. Timula gives that comparative positioning against Harvest. Capterra gives user validation language from real people. Forbes is a tier 1 mention. The brands that win in AI are the brands that have the most consistent positioning across the most highly authoritative sources. In my opinion, Toggl have built that to a better level than Harvest and Clockify. Therefore, they are able to capture more AI visibility across a more wider range of queries. So what is the lesson that this analysis video has produced? I would argue it is this. Google rewards content depth. More content means more keywords ranking. It means more traffic. But do you really care about traffic? On the other hand, AI, more often than not, rewards editorial authority and mentions. The brands that own the semantic positioning in the websites that AI trusts are the brands that will win in AI search. So the work that gets you there is specific. It is about editorial placements in the publications that your ICP actually reads. It's about brand co-occurrence alongside the category leaders, being in the topical context that the AI models are actually retrieving. It's not about generic guest posts, generic link directories. It's not about any of that. It's about being very specific and topical relevancy of your backlinks and of your brand mentions. Editorial mentions in the places that AI will pull from related to your niche. That's the work we run for SaaS clients at MG. We have many case study videos on this channel. If you're largely absent in the AI citations right now, then you have work to do. The reason why is this gap will widen every quarter you don't address the problem. The buyers who are reading AI answers today are already forming preferences of companies they want to work with. Your inbound demand will largely be dictated by this. The more visibility you start to build, the sooner you start to build it, the more inbound leads, the more inbound customers you're going to get. So here's the real picture of what the audit has produced. Harvest have built a $150 million business, and they have built that largely on concentrated positioning around agency billing. They hold that exact semantic slot in AI citations that aligns with their product DNA. Years of traditional SEO work has shaped up to lead to this. Clockify have built the deepest content moat in the category. They've been receiving the most traffic from Google for the longest amount of time. And in AI, they often get talked about as the best free alternative. But I would argue their content is largely near the top of the funnel. And despite a high traffic value in Ahrefs, when you actually look at a lot of their keywords, they're often for pretty random queries. Across the generalist queries, Toggl have the biggest level of editorial authority and the biggest recognizability. Therefore, they win the broadest buyers of keyword searches. None of them are losing. They're each winning the slice their specific positioning was made for. The interesting question for any SaaS team who's watching isn't who's ahead. It's whether the slice you're winning today is the slice you actually want to be winning. It's about whether that's the slice you want to be winning in 5 years' time. If you're sitting on years of brand equity and a good level of organic traffic, but you still can't tell the board what the next steps are, what's driving pipeline, how visible you are in AI, what your plan is for getting more brand mentions, you can look to booking a call with us below. We're going to look at your keyword mix, your link profile, your specific competitors, and your category positioning to help see where the gaps are. If you book that call with us, it takes 15-30 minutes to call. Just send us as much information as possible when you sign up for the call with Calendly. We're going to look into everything in depth, and then you're going to walk away at the minimum with a roadmap that's going to provide you at least some good value on what you can start to do next. And if this kind of breakdown video was useful, hit the subscribe. This is the kind of content we build right here for SaaS marketing teams. My name's Matt. As always, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.